everybody. Welcome to another episode of Nerdgasm. I am not the Black Lantern, Brooklyn Vale. I am not Cody Newberry. I am not Kaleb Koho. I'm not any of those bitches. I'm Tim, the Hulk Bracala, and I'm here to host the champion of this league. Wow, this is the first time I've ever hosted or judged a match. But the only reason I'm here is because Brooklyn couldn't be here and Kaleb was playing, and we needed a third person to judge. So I am here today to judge officially. So the champion looks down upon you people, but it's fine. Don't worry. It'll be fine. Along with me today, the greatest manager in the biz, Cody. How you doing?
Well, it's breaking up and stuff right now, but I think I'm back. I don't know. Some say that I'm a great manager. Some say that I work in the shadows, but either way, I like what I do, and this is going to be a fun match. Jay is the most unorthodox fighter that we have, and Kaleb is the person that will get under your skin and piss you off the most while debating. So I figure this will be very loud, very boisterous. Both people will be pissed at the end of this match because they did not win, and they'll act calm and cool until the post match, and then they'll let us all know about why we suck. But it should be fun until we get to that point.
Absolutely. Also joining us tonight as a judge, I believe he's never judged in Nerdgasm, but he's definitely played here before and judged in other leagues. Mr. Douglas Castle, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing fantastic, guys. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to see what these two people can do. One is yet to make a debut in one of our leagues, and the other one has made a debut. So I'm excited to see what they can do in Nerdgasm.
Abso-frickin-lutely. So we'll bring in the first competitor today, the arsonist himself, Mr. Jay Burnz. Jay, how are you doing?
Well, I had a massive fucking panic attack today and got sent home from work because I was essentially useless for 3 fucking hours. I'm a little fucking physically drained, but I'm ready to yell at Koho because it's what I do anyways. So I love you, buddy, but fuck you. I hope this is going to be a good match.
Okay, and the person that Jay is saying fuck you to, Mr. Kaleb Koho. Mr. Fuck you, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. It's been a minute since I've been here. Last time I was here, I lost to a sneaky little hobbit. And I want to get back there. I know he's probably on the other side of this, so I took this seriously. Jay is a southpaw, and I don't like that. He fights so weird, so I had to study his game tape, figure out how he played, how he fought, and so I'm ready for him. And hopefully I have the best arguments that I can tonight to counter him. So we'll see how this goes.
Absolutely. So everybody here, I think, knows how the game works, but we will tell you for the people at home in case this is your first time tuning into Nerdgasm. So we gave each competitor questions. They gave us the answer to the question. They are going to debate said question. You've got a minute to open your argument, each of you, and then we will give you a 5-minute free form and then a 45-second closing argument at the end of that 5 minutes. The first person to 3 wins. Do we have any questions, gentlemen?
No, it's good.
Okay, so guys, your first question is in the category of Middle Earth, and Kaleb, you are going to be going first on this question. What Middle Earth character would best protect you? So, Kaleb, you are going to have 1 minute whenever you start talking.
When I approach this question, I approach someone who's loyal, who's going to defend you to a fault, who's also a really strong warrior, someone who can actually live up to the part about protecting you, and I went with Aragorn. When it comes to Aragorn, he stood by the Fellowship and basically led them through a lot of trials and tribulations throughout the trilogy. He was the most loyal. He stood by their side through thick and thin, all the way to the end in their fight, and yeah, it's Aragorn. He's the correct answer.
Okay. Stopping early with 33 seconds left to spare. That's okay.
Patented Cody Newberry move.
All right. Jay, your minute opening whenever you start talking.
I didn't approach this like that. I approached this after watching all of the movies, because my character appears in all of them, even the bad ones. He's there, and he is the most overprotective individual on the face of the planet. He is the individual who isn't necessarily overbearing, but is there and does his damnedest to make sure that everybody lives. It's Gandalf. The gray, the white, it's Gandalf.
All right. Also taking that strategy of ending with 30 seconds. Guys, 5-minute free form whenever one of you starts talking.
All right, so here's the issue with Gandalf. He's the guy that's going to abandon you to go do a side quest in the middle of the movie and disappear for an entire movie and leave you to die and get caught in Fanghorn Forest with a tiny little golem who's going to trick you for 2 movies. He's not going to be there to protect you. He won't use magic convenient. He's a wizard, but he won't use magic to protect you. In the Hobbit movies, they're stuck in the trolls, and he doesn't use the cave light to help them find a way out. He doesn't do anything. Gandalf is useless to them. Useless. Aragorn actually stands by and protects them to his damnedest ability, and all he needs to do is stand by them with that sword. Gandalf disappears for half a movie.
So does Aragorn when he falls off a fucking cliff, if that's the way that you want to go about it. And why is he fucking off for 85 years instead of actually doing anything? He's here, yeah, right now, but he can't protect jack shit. He can't protect fucking Boromir. He can't protect Merry and Pippin, and he lets fucking Frodo and Sam escape. That's not a great fucking protector. That's an individual who is clumsy at what he does and still can't find his way. At least Gandalf, who goes off to learn how to defeat shit, comes back with information. Even when this man dies, he doesn't die. He comes back. What do you want? An individual who is fallible, or an individual who knows that sometimes you have to let somebody deal with it themselves, but still comes back to protect them in the end? I would much rather have the dude who uses magic throughout the entire thing and is a very fucking skilled fighter.
Except he doesn't use magic at all. I don't know why he's a wizard. His only magic is coming back from the dead. And then when you look at Aragorn, he didn't let them escape. He let them go do the thing that they needed to do. And while he was doing that, he was protecting the rest of the group. He was with the rest of the... Yes, he was. He was with the rest of the fucking fellowship. If you'd watch your fucking movies, Jay.
That's why one dies, two get kidnapped. He ain't doing shit. He ain't
and where was Gandalf then?
Thing.
Where was Gandalf then? Aragorn was at least there. Aragorn was at least there to help them fight through that. Gandalf was off jerking off in the corner.
If you went on a Matt Rosa point for saying jerking off in the corner, I'm gonna be pissed. Here's the thing. Regardless of whether or not Gandalf was there, we literally established the fact that Gandalf doesn't need to be there, because Gandalf will be there when it matters.
What do you mean when it matters? They're literally at death's door, and he's off doing something else. What do you mean in The Hobbit they're in the cave trolls and he's not there? He comes back and then doesn't do anything. He wallows them through the cave, doing nothing, doing absolutely nothing.
He kills those trolls. He kills the leader of
he does not.
Town. Yes, he does.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. He doesn't do anything in those caves, Jay.
Yes, he does.
No, he does not.
Let the dawn take you. He literally cracks we're talking about 2 different scenes in the movie, but he kills fucking trolls. He kills the fucking I'm sorry, I'm lagging behind a little bit. He kills the trolls. He kills the trolls. He kills the people in Goblin Town. He uses magic to actually stun everybody, get everybody up to fight in that scene. He uses magic when he lights the fucking pine cones on fire to throw at the fucking wargs. He uses the magic to get the fucking moth to get the fucking giant birds, and Gwahir to help him out again. So
speaking of something else that he should be able to do, he is the guy who has access to the birds, right? Then why doesn't he ever do that? He never does that. He has the get out of jail free card in his back pocket. He's the one who selfishly sits there and goes, no, I'm going to let you guys probably die, then rather than do what I know I can do to save you in the situation. Aragorn doesn't have those magical abilities, but he stays there. He stays there and he fights with them to the death. He's willing to die with his friends to protect you. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. No, he never leaves the Fellowship side. The entire time he fights with them through 3 movies. Gandalf doesn't do that.
He does not. He
1
disappears.
minute.
He disappears for half a movie. If you want to talk about people disappearing for half a fuck movie, this man fucks off over a cliff of the edge of a cliff. He fucks off to go find those goddamn ghosts in the 3rd one. You really want to talk about not being there or being with the Fellowship for the entire time? No, he's not, because he cannot keep that Fellowship together.
Except that he does. When you get to the final fight, he's there in the final fight, fighting alongside everyone else. Gandalf is literally dead. The man literally lets himself die because he would rather die than help you protect you. He
comes back and then protects everyone. Yes, he does.
No, he does not.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. He comes back. He comes back. He does protect you, and you don't use the birds to fly directly into Mordor because you know they have basilisks and shit. So fuck you on that.
Basilisk is Harry Potter, sir. So you're getting your franchise.
Basilisks.
Are you sure you said basilisks? Anyway,
no,
look, Gandalf doesn't do magic. He lets them all die.
Time. Okay. Jay, 45 seconds for your closing argument whenever you are ready.
Gandalf is the best protector when it comes to the Lord of the Rings and the Middle-earth series franchise, whatever the fuck you want to call it, because he is overprotective. He helps. He has this soft spot in his heart for all of these characters that he loves. He always comes back in the end to protect them. He dies and comes back to protect them. Whether or not you want to say he doesn't use his magic, there's proof. I've brought it up multiple points. He uses his magic to do that. He doesn't just abandon people. He doesn't just let somebody die, let two people get fucking kidnapped and let two people leave. That's not that. It's breaking the fellowship. You're supposed to be a protector, but you can't protect shit. Gandalf is the better protector. He will always come back in the end, and he has, and he's proven it multiple times in multiple different movies.
5. Okay. Kaleb, 45 seconds whenever you start talking.
What this man doesn't want you to know is that he's literally arguing for the Dumbledore of the Middle-earth movies. This man puts everyone else in harm's way and doesn't protect you. He uses them as pawns throughout the movie and lets them go into dangerous situations and doesn't actually help them or protect them. He knows that Bilbo has the ring. And what does he do? He lets him have it, which creates the entire events of series that he later doesn't even bother to help clean up. You know who cleans up all of his messes? Aragorn in the new Lord of the Rings trilogy is the one who always stands by the Fellowship. Gandalf is not there when Pippin and Merry and them are fighting. And while Pippin and Merry do die, Aragorn is by their side helping them fight throughout all of it. He's there through it all. He makes sure Frodo doesn't die. He makes sure that everyone still gets home safe. Gandalf doesn't. He literally lets himself die rather than help them succeed.
Okay. I get to play Brooklyn Vale for this. Yikes McGee. Someone get me a sandwich because this was intense. I'll start. And fuck. Now I know how hard this is for you guys. Shit. Why are we pointing at people?
Go to Douglas.
Go to Douglas.
After you, go to Douglas.
Okay.
I don't want to Douglas.
This honestly was really close, especially knowing that someone out of these two people has never seen half these movies. This was still very close. I think I am going to give it to Jay, though, only because I feel like Jay was able to pretty much combat everything that Koho said about Aragorn being good. Jay was able to say, like, well, no, actually, this happened, and then this is more reasons why Gandalf is great. And Kaleb couldn't really, like, say why Gandalf didn't do those things, other than, like, he just kind of yelled more about Aragorn instead of, like, defending things about Gandalf. So, yeah, I'm going to give my point to Jay. Douglas, I'll go to you next, then.
Notes, guys. Notes. Eventually, it got hard to keep up with everybody because it was just a yell fest. But from what I could tell, I feel the same way that Tim did. I think Jay hit you a few times that you didn't counteract about Aragorn, more so less about Gandalf. You tried to hit him, and there's a couple that could be iffy. But when he hits you with the same points about Aragorn kind of abandoning them, and then going missing for part of the movie, and you didn't really rebuttal that. And if you would have brought in your closing argument into the debate, I would have maybe leaned that in a little bit more. But that was my issue. You brought an argument where there was no rebuttal. There wasn't the ability to have that rebuttal.
That's fair.
But Jake is my point for that one.
I've become what I hate.
Right. So that means
that's why I turned. I turned the camera off.
I didn't think of it until we got to closing.
That means that Jay gets the first point. Cody, you didn't get to vote, but where would your vote have landed?
It's a lot closer than what it kind of seemed like. I think Kaleb did a really good job of throwing bullshit when he didn't have much. But he, if I ever write a book on debate, he did the cardinal sin of throwing dick punches when no one can say anything. They do not do well in my idea, because you had it. If you would have brought that up, it would have been. You actually used Jay's former argument against him. If you would have put that into the fight, you would have had a way better shot, because they both leave the group. They're both kind of terrible protectors. You both hit on that, but you didn't go farther. So yeah, Jay would have gotten a point on me.
Okay.
All right.
I
So
was sweating that, dude. That was a great fight, bro.
That was mean. And by the way, the extended versions, none showed Gandalf jerking off in the corner. I
I
promise.
was gonna say,
Yeah,
could that be the
I
line
bet
of the debate? Is Gandalf soft jerking in the corner?
all right, well, let's quit talking about jerking off and move on to the next question, which is going to be in the category
Yeah, what is this, late night with TMG?
Oscars. Jay, you get to go first on this one.
No,
The
Koho
quest-
gets to go first on this one, right?
No, you do. I went first. On
You
this one.
do.
Oh, okay.
You get to go first. The question is best scene in a fandom film that was nominated for best cinematography. So again, Jay, you get to go first, and you get a minute once you start talking.
Yikes! This is the one that I'm actually really worried about. I think I picked the right scene. I just don't know if I'm have the ability to talk about it. You can go ahead and I've started my time already, or take 5 seconds off or whatever. Legitimately, I chose probably one of the most well-known scenes in a fandom movie of all time that literally, without the sound going, is still able to lay the story out. You are still able to pick up everything that is going on via the story beats in this one scene. It is the scene where the Joker and crew rob the bank at the beginning of The Dark Knight. It is a pivotal scene with sound. You get everything that you get the story of this individual. You can turn that entire scene into a singular movie in of itself, just with how well that first 4 minutes is done. That is my scene. That time, whatever.
Okay. Kaleb, you get a minute when you start talking.
I took big umbrage with one of your points, but we'll get there in the main rounds. What I took is a film that deconstructs the character, maybe one of the most well-known characters in pop culture, and that is Skyfall. And specifically in this scene, shot masterfully by Roger Deakins, who just through his use of color sets the tone without you having to hear any audio. Set on a destroyed nuclear wasteland of an island, Javier Bardem Silva brings James Bond, who has been captured, out for a skill test. What he does is he talks about, in any other Bond movie, Bond sees the trapped woman, shoots the cup off of her head, captures the bad guy. That's Bond. What happens is Bond is completely in Silva's hands. Silva takes him there. Silva shows him the girl, the item in front of him, and says, "I don't do redundancy. You're shot, Mr. Bond." And Bond shoots, misses. And he goes, "My turn." Shoots the girl. The cup falls, shatters. It displays Bond's inability and the fact that he has no idea what he's up against in this cat and mouse game, and how in this scene he is up against his greatest threat yet. And you can get that all just from the way that it is shot, not just the sound.
Time. Okay. Guys, 5-minute freeform whenever one of you starts talking.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start right now with my biggest point of umbrage. You said that this scene looks good from the visuals without the audio. All the story and the points of your scene comes from the audio. Wally Pfister, as a cinematographer, is one of the most horrendous cinematographers I've ever seen, because he breaks basic cinematography 101. The point of perspective, and there are 3 types of shots. Your centered shot, where the person is centered in the middle, and the shot works really well. Those he does decently, but he doesn't have that in this scene. The other shots that they have are perspective shots and line of view shots, and he breaks that multiple times. When you line up someone talking like this and like this, normally they look at each other. Wally Pfister sets it up so they are completely not doing that in this scene. You get nothing from this scene without the visuals, or not without the visuals, without the audio.
Okay. You bring up the fact that, like, he doesn't center people in shots and things, and I think that actually plays to the not detriment, but the betterment of that scene in itself, because we're dealing with an individual who's not necessarily there right at the same time. He doesn't need to be centered. He can be off. He can do this, that, and the other. With your scene really doesn't work without the audio. You didn't even choose the best scene in your movie. Like, I mean, if we want to talk real shit, it's. Go ahead.
Okay. First of all, no. Cinematography 101 works as a scene. In order for it to be a well-composed scene, actually has to follow one of those three perspectives. It's like writing. When you write with your hand, you have to draw a straight line to make a K, or else it's a bad K. Like, that's literally how this works. It's like kindergarten level shit. And the thing about my scene is that the audio only enhances it. The actual visuals you get, that Bond is in danger because of just the color grading of it, because Deakins is really good at that. It's the beige sort of, we are in a bad, worn down area, and on top of that you can see from Silva's movements that he is completely in control of this scene, and Daniel Craig and Bond barely is able to keep up with him.
Bond is there right behind him the entire time. He is there. I don't think that you have that scene correct in your head, but if we let's bring audio into it, since that's what we're doing. You brought up audio first. You said it was enhanced by the audio. You want to talk about audio enhancements? Cool. Let's talk about it. That entire scene works really well without audio. It is only bettered with the audio, but it does prove that the Joker is an individual who is a master tactician, and you get that through this entire scene. You hear later on in the movie, in the hospital scene, do I look like a guy with a plan to you? That's a meticulous plan to make sure that everybody else takes everybody else out at the beginning of the movie. You see how much of a master tactician that this individual is. Your scene, okay, cool. Silva's just random Bond bad guy number 73.
Okay, no. The way that this works for your scene is the only way you get those story beats is with the dialogue. Nolan and Jonathan and Christopher Nolan are good at the dialogue in that scene, and that's why it's a well-written scene, not a well-shot scene. The way with mine is it sets up who this character is going forward for the rest of the movie, because sure, Bond is there and Bond is able to catch him. No, Silva lets him catch him, because when we come back to him later in the movie, it's so that Silva can get into the facility and keep destroying Bond throughout the entire movie. This is the only Bond movie where the villain actually wins at the end of the movie, and this scene foreshadows that throughout the entire film, for the entire film to come. Whereas yours, you only get the Joker dialogue, I'm a man with a plan, when he's talking, because people are shooting each other on the back. You can't follow it, because not only does the camera not follow it well, you can't follow it because there's nothing to tell you what's happening, because you can't tell what's happening just by the visuals.
I mean, I watched both of these scenes last night. I could follow both of them very well without audio. With audio,
1 minute.
even. But I mean, if we want to make that argument, that's just a straight up subjective argument at that point in time, what you think about your movie and what I think about my movie. I still think that mine's better composed, because it does the cinematography of that scene in of itself shows the chaotic nature that is the mind of the Joker, and I think that it works really well there. Yours, not so much. Okay, cool. Silva talks to Bond, makes him use an ancient fucking pistol to shakily shoot somebody. Did he miss on purpose? Did he not miss on purpose? Like, these are all things that, like, you cannot tell from just watching the scene. Go ahead.
You can find very clearly that Bond is not trying to miss that, because that's part of the character that is set up in the scene. It's to show you that it's the deconstruction of who Bond is. And also, you can keep trying to apply deeper meaning to Wally Pfister's cinematography. Wally Pfister is not that smart of a cinematographer to make that happen. It's actually just poor cinematography. It's like Zack Snyder trying to apply beauty to Man of Steel. It's not a thing. The thing about Skyfall is it deconstructs Bond in a great way.
Time. Okay. Koho, you have 45 seconds to close your argument when you start talking.
The beauty of my scene is even just in the composition, you can tell that this is a beautiful scene. You get everything you need to know just from the color grading and the way that Deakins frames each shot. He actually centers Bond and Silva in the way that they shoot the guns. And you can tell throughout the scene that Silva is in control. Even at the end, when Bond is like, oh, that was a perfectly good bad waste of scotch, and he tries to stop Silva, and Silva immediately drops the gun, puts his hands up. You know why? Because he needs to get into MI6. This scene completely sets up who this character is going for, because even in just his dialogue and his delivery of, I'm a man of I don't do redundancy, and puts the Bond girl in front of Bond, and Bond has to save her, and Bond can't. It's a complete deconstruction of who our regular hero is. Yours is just a complete fuck up of what could be a great movie, but that scene is not the best scene in your movie, because it breaks cinematography rules 101. It's kindergarten stuff.
Time. All right, Jay, 45 seconds when you start talking.
I don't want to punch you in the dick. I don't want to commit the cardinal sin, so I'll wait until after this is said to say something. Legitimately, you talked about applying a deeper meaning. I think that that's just a base level. If you even just look at it from that scene, you can tell that it's chaotically shot. You mention it multiple times. I think that goes along to play with how the Joker is, and you're just trying to be like, oh no, this is just fucking terrible. Whereas your scene is literally boring. It doesn't do anything. It's generic Bond situation number 45, bro. I have literally seen this before. Silva's not even intimidating. He's just there. And you want to talk
5, 4. All right.
Okay. Oops, sorry.
Okay. Cody, your vote didn't count last time, so we'll have you start on this one.
Future Nerdgasm competitors, watch this match, watch this question, and learn how not to fight a question. Listen, it's best to be nominated for best cinematography. This is called the best scene. You guys Jay fought Kaleb's fight, basically. He put him down a rabbit hole that was a bunch of semantics and bullshit that wouldn't have actually won him, but you fell right into his trap. I don't know what is the best scene, because they didn't argue why it's the best scene. They just argued the cinematographer that made it beautiful, but that's fine, but it still didn't make it the best scene. Kaleb, you made somebody fight your fight, so congratulations, you get the point.
Yeah, okay, I'll go next. I agree with Cody. I think that the question wasn't argued like at all. Like it started to a little bit like when we were describing the scenes a little bit. And in that's kind of what I give Kaleb the point for, is he painted a better picture for me of what his scene was overall. But again, we never argued the actual question, which is the best scene, not the best shot scene, not the best. We put cinematography in there, but that wasn't. We weren't asking what the best cinematography scene was, the best scene in the film.
Like, you took dialogue out of the conversation, which is
because that's not what cinematography is.
That wasn't
but
the
it's
question.
still the best scene.
That wasn't the question.
That's the way the question was posed. That's the way I understood as the question was posed.
No, the question was the best scene. I'll talk about it when we're done.
We can talk about it after, but I give Kaleb my point just because I think he painted a better picture to me of what his scene was. So that being said, Kaleb does get the point. Doug, what about you? Where would you have gone with this?
I'm in the same boat as Cody, man. You fell in the trap of fighting his fight. That's the only problem with the whole fight in general. It was Kaleb made you come to his level instead of you trying to bring it to your level. And taking the question at a literal stance of best cinematography, that's what you were aiming for. That's not when you ask a question like this. It's usually, as a question writer in nerd fights, it's a broad question. We wanted to just know the best scene. Unfortunately, I would have had to give him it to Kaleb on this round.
Okay. So both questions so far clean sweeps, but we are tied up 1-1. Okay. We're going on to question numero 3, which is in the category of Wizarding World. Kaleb, you're going to be going first on this one. The question is, what Harry Potter character should appear in Fantastic Beasts 3? Kaleb, you get a minute to open whenever you start talking.
Okay, so Fantastic Beasts is supposed to be the story of Dumbledore and Grindelwald, and who better to help enhance that story than Bathilda Bagshot, the one person who knew both of them better than those two knew each other or on the same level. When we get into the story, I think what's going to happen in Fantastic Beasts 3, or what should happen, is that we need to figure out a way to break that blood oath so that Dumbledore can be involved in this fight. Who better than the person who literally wrote the book on magic and Bathilda Bagshot to be the one that they go to? They established in the last one that there's an early sort of version of Order of the Phoenix. Who says she's not part of that with Nicholas Flamel? So when we bring her in that way, it ties into the Deathly Hallows, and also ties in this character who literally raised Grindelwald and had that personal connection to him, having to come to terms with, I have to stop this person that I care about, and by doing so, I have to unleash the other person that cared about him just as much as I did in order to have a fair fight and stand a chance to stop Wizard Hitler, essentially. So I think Bathilda Bagshot is the clear shot, or the clear answer for who should join in Fantastic Beasts 3.
Okay. Jay, you've got a minute whenever you start talking.
We don't need another expositional heavy in a Harry Potter movie, especially a movie like Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald, Fantastic Beasts: Where to Find Them, Fantastic Beasts 3. We have a whole bunch of expositional dumps dressed up as characters, and I think I think what you need to add to it is a character that could be essential to the plot, but isn't necessarily one of those. So I've chosen Celestina Warbeck. She is a singer in the wizarding world. She is not really well known, but she is there, and she doesn't make an appearance, but you can hear her music played in the Harry Potter movies. So she does have a connection to the wizarding world, and I think that she would be the best character to bring in. Not necessarily a light character, but she could tie into the plot without being just story point.
Okay. Guys, 5-minute free form whenever you start talking.
Okay, so what you did is you took a character who is on a chocolate frog card and essentially said, I'm going to make her a glorified cameo. She's a singer. She doesn't have anything to add to the story, whereas Bathilda Bagshot actually has purpose and actually would enhance the plot because she could help them figure out how to break the blood oath while also having the emotional connection to Dumbledore and Grindelwald that I think is necessary. While she has no actual weight or gravity in the story, she's a glorified fan service cameo that no fan is actually going to understand.
So if they are going and they are actually going to do what they're supposed to be doing in Fantastic Beasts 3, they're headed to South America. In the 30s in South America, you had a whole bunch of bars, and it could only be assumed that there would be a whole bunch of wizarding bars down there. And you know what they had? They had lounge singers. And you know what you can do? You can add this character into a lounge scene where she is a South American informant for Dumbledore. You can add her in as a basic plot point, even just as a little head nod, without creating a character's need for just being another expositional dump. I don't need another character to come in. You say that it's enhancing the story. It's really not. This is why J.K. Rowling shouldn't be fucking writing these. We've got too much of it. She's trying to throw too much backstory into it. So by adding another character who is going to take up a large portion of this film, by talking a whole lot and by never having her be seen before, it doesn't help me.
You're literally arguing a character who has never been seen before, Jay, for the same reason. Mine actually has story basis in the Harry Potter films to work. She doesn't have to be an expositionary heavy character. That's you inferring because it's J.K. Rowling. That's what she'll do. But imagine what this character could be. She has a reason to be there. Yours doesn't. Yours is literally a glorified cameo. She can't do anything. She's a singer. What's she going to do? Sing at Grindelwald until his ears explode? The thing about Bathilda Bagshot is that she actually studies magic. She wrote the book on magic. She knows everything there is to know about magic while also being a powerful wizard, so she can actually help them in their fight to beat Grindelwald.
To get killed by Nagini, right? Okay. Here's the thing about that. You literally just said she wrote the book on magic. So are you saying that she's not going to be an expositionally heavy character? Because that's all that she's adding to the movie. She's not adding any other plot points to it. She's literally just adding more dialogue. I don't need that. I don't want to see that. These are already dialogue heavy movies. What I would like to see, and however, and you said, what was she going to do? Sing at Grindelwald? Dude, lounge singers were spies all over the world. It's happened. Yeah, don't shake your head. It's literally true. So you can go ahead and sit here and shake your head all you fucking want, but lounge singers were spies. There are stories all over World War II about that.
Awesome.
So well, what can she do? She can be a spy in a lounge without... Go ahead.
Awesome. She's a glorified cameo for no one who's going to understand it for one singular thing that's literally expositionary talking, which is what you just said you don't want from me. Mine is actually a character that has ties, who can actually be a part of the action, who could be a part of the fight because she wrote the book on magic, but guess what? She's also a wizard. She can actually help. She knows how to break a blood oath because guess what? You're in South America. She's down there studying how to break blood oaths down there. So what do? They meet up with a contact of Dumbledore, who is a part of the Order of the Phoenix, and they help break up the blood oath just as Grindelwald's about to lead his people to bomb London. So you tied into real historical things as part of his plans. So therefore, you can have my character who actually adds something. Yours is nothing.
Your character adds more and more runtime to a movie that already people hate for talking. That's just it. You're literally sitting here and saying, mine's not an expositional dump. Mine is 1 to 2 minutes. Yours is at least 20 minutes of a movie where she does nothing but talk.
That's because you're pitching a cameo. I'm pitching a supporting character who could be a part of the story, Jay. I'm pitching someone who can be another
supporting character. We don't need
you
another
lost
supporting
Lita Lestrange.
character.
Jay, you lost Lita Lestrange. You lost Lita Lestrange.
Who was a glorified cameo herself.
You are losing. You lost actual supporting characters in the last movie. You need people to help that actually add something, Jay. So I'm adding someone who knows this world that you know from other stories that has actual reason to be there. You're adding a cameo that doesn't do anything except for 2 minutes of a fucking cameo that doesn't do shit, Jay. She is literally what you are pitching against me.
I don't need.
It's not an exposition dump.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
You're
literally
that
way. No, you're pitching a 2-minute expositionary scene where it's like, oh, I'm part of Dumbledore's army. Guess what? That's literally all it is. It's someone going, oh, hi, I'm this person on a chocolate frog, and I'm part of Dumbledore's army. Nothing new to give. Nothing new to give.
Cool. Yes, she is. She can be a spy. She doesn't need to be an expositionally heavy. Okay, that's cool. I'm done.
5. Okay, I guess we're done. All right. Jay, you get 45 seconds to close your argument whenever you start talking.
Cool. I'm taking something that's actually happened in real life and adding it to the Wizarding world, which is something that you really do want to see. Lounge singers have always been spies. It's all over World War II. Why wouldn't it happen right before it? She doesn't need to be an expositionally heavy character. She can be a spy. She can be in and out of the movie. Whereas if you add a character like Bathilda Bagshot to this scene, it's gonna be another 20 to 30 minutes of her just talking. And that's the biggest issue that everybody has with these movies is characters talk too much as is. Celestina Warbeck is not going to be a derailment of the story just so we can stop to get another portion of a story that we've never heard before. Celestina Warbeck is the correct choice, whether or not you call her a cameo.
2, 1, time. Okay, Caleb, you get 45 seconds whenever you start talking.
This character's been set up in Harry Potter as having an actual backstory for Grindelwald and Dumbledore. In the Harry Potter Deathly Hallows, I already said my main round, she's literally on his mantle place as a picture. She raised him. The thing about this is she doesn't need to be an expositionary character. I said that in the main rounds. She just has to be there to give them the information that they need in that one piece, or even to be part of the journey with them. She's a new character that can fill in for characters that have been gone before. There's precedence for it. She's part of that Order of the Phoenix that started from before. She has more reason to be there than your glorified cameo, who is going to be exactly what you said, a 2-minute exposition dump as I'm a spy. What she's not going to add anything to them. Mine could actually add a character who has emotional resonance with these characters that could actually help them beat Grindelwald in a meaningful, impactful way. Yours means nothing. She's a chocolate frog character in the first fucking movie.
1, time. Okay. Doug, your vote did not count last time, so you get to start this one.
Thanks. I love starting these things. This was a heated argument, enough so that things got banged upon. So what I liked was Jay explained something that the fans didn't want, and that was another character to lay out an exponential dump, and he brought in the fans to what the fans want. And you guys argued each other's point, but I didn't hear Caleb back that point throughout any of the argument to anything for the fans. This is supposed to be, what character you're adding to Fantastic Beasts, which character should appear. And I think a spy that's working for Dumbledore's army is pretty freaking cool character, and you don't have to see her that long, and it's something that'll be kind of important to the show. So Jay got my point on this one.
Okay. Cody, you're next. Who are you picking and why? And he froze.
This was a lot of fun. This is a lot of fun. Am I back?
You're back.
Cool. So Jay did something very interesting. Normally, when you pick a character, you're like, well, it's got to be something big. We never specified what kind of version the character has to be. So to bring in something that's going to be little screen time, but actually impactful in the story is an actual smart plot. I agree with Caleb that it doesn't have to be exposition because they already brought it up, but I think introducing another huge character involved in this world, what Jay said, could make this movie longer than needed. And he was able to attack a bunch of huge points of introducing another character to add to the other numerous bullshit characters in this franchise. I'd have to go to Jay with this one, and I love to see the passion. It's a very fun fight.
All right. So with that, Jay wins the second point. My vote didn't count, but I also would have given it to Jay, actually. I think that for most of the reasons the two of you said, the fans thing didn't really bring it in for me as much as it did for Doug. But I agree that I think that in the same way that Jay fought Kaleb's fight last question, Kaleb fought Jay's on this one. I think that Jay kind of like hit him with that he's an exposition, or she would be an exposition dump, and Kaleb kind of like stuck on that for a long time. And then when he tried to bring up other arguments about it, Jay was very quick to respond, and then also like had a lot of cool ideas. He painted the picture of his character and what they would do in the movie more. Kaleb never really told me, other than this is a character we've seen before and has a connection to the characters, what they would actually do in the movie, though. So yeah, that's why I gave my point to Jay. So that being said, we are going to the speed round. It is 2-1 in favor of Jay. So if Jay wins this first speed round question, he wins the game. But if Kaleb hits it, we move on to another question. So guys, the way the speed round works for you at home, if you don't know, we actually have two categories picked. We have two questions. They don't know the questions. The first, we are going to read the question aloud, and the first person to say an answer goes first. You get 40 seconds to open your argument, and then 30 seconds to rebuttal. Do we have any questions? Okay. So the first category is going to be scores and soundtracks. And the question for scores and soundtracks: best fandom composer.
John Williams.
That was my go-to. Hans Zimmer. I'll just concede the point already. Fuck.
Well, don't do that. But okay, we've got John Williams versus Hans Zimmer. All right, so we've got Kaleb with John Williams, Jay with Hans Zimmer. Again, the question is best fandom composer. Kaleb, we heard you first, so you are going to be going first. You've got 40 seconds whenever you start talking.
A John Williams score elevates the movie beyond what it should be. He comes in, he always brings a level of emotion, a level of heart with each film he does, from Jurassic Park to Superman to Star Wars. Every single one adds a different level of adventurous spirit, of hope, of inspiration behind every score that makes you feel something throughout the entire movie. Hans Zimmer continuously does the same score over and over and over. He's got maybe one score that separates, but of all of his Phantom scores, it gets very repetitive. John Williams is always unique and always brings something new and original to the table every time.
Okay, conceding 10 seconds. Jay, you've got 40 seconds whenever you start talking.
Hans Zimmer does the sleeper hits. He does shit like The Road to El Dorado. He does shit like Shark's Tale. He does it for Disney. He does it for DreamWorks. He does it for the big pictures, like the DCEU. He has a hand in. Whereas his sounds might get repetitive. You understand and you know who he is. Whereas I love John Williams, but everybody only knows John Williams for doing one thing. Really, he's done a whole bunch, but he really only is known for doing one thing. I think Hans Zimmer has a little bit better of a track record. Whether or not you think that everything is similar or not, I think that he's more well-rounded of a composer and has his hands a little bit more in pots that people actually understand and look at and listen to.
Okay, time. All right, Kaleb, 30-second rebuttal when you start talking.
All the movies and the scores that you think Hans Zimmer, if he didn't do alone, he had another composer like Lauren Bell, for Harry Gregson Williams, or John Powell, who do most of the heavy lifting for him. He just sits there and sits his hands on an organ and lets a bong play out. The thing about John Williams is that every film, even when he does the same franchise of Star Wars, he brings something new. Duel of the Fates, the Imperial March. The Imperial March came in Empire Strikes Back, which is the second movie in that film. You also have Jurassic Park and Superman, which are two themes that people remember him for that aren't Star Wars, even though you want to say Star Wars is the only thing. Hans Zimmer has never made anything iconic. It's just him.
Time. Jay, 30 seconds when you start talking.
regardless of whether or not Hans Zimmer has somebody who helps him out, that's not the question. We were asked about one person, so I'm going to just bring up that one person. I'm going to talk about what he does. And like I said, he's in Disney, he's in DreamWorks, he's in the DCEU. I get it. You brought up, and you did exactly what I said. You brought up Star Wars. Everybody knows him for that. Jurassic Park score is not memorable. Superman's score is barely remembered at this point in time because everybody knows him for one thing. At least, and you're talking about a Blanc, but that Blanc is fantastic, and everybody knows every movie he's in, and they know it every time they hear it.
Time. Okay. Fuck.
Enjoy.
Fuck. This is hard, guys. How do you do this every match?
How do we do this and not get hated on by everybody?
I know, right? I know, right?
All right.
That's why I like to be on the other side.
Fuck of a battle, bro. Jesus Christ.
Dude.
Okay. I'm gonna go with my gut. To be completely honest, I know Jay wasn't in love with Hans Zimmer, but I think he fought really, really well. But I still have to give it to Kaleb. I think that Kaleb was able to give me specific movies and specific themes and specific just more specifics about why John Williams' scores are the best. Jay did a really good job starting to bring in like franchises and things that he has, big things that Hans Zimmer has done. But he didn't give me any huge specific titles beyond Roads El Dorado, Shark Tale, and some DCEU movies. Whereas Kaleb actually then was able to fight the specific things. I think the thing that got it over for me was Kaleb said, he always has somebody with him. I think that was kind of the nail in the coffin for me. So I give my point to Kaleb, but again, not alone. So let's go to who didn't do one. That was me last time. We'll go back to Doug then. So Doug.
Yeah, I don't like being a judge anymore. I quit being judges. I'm just gonna compete from now on. It's not fair. No. This was gonna be tooth and nail regardless because Jay doesn't give up. But I think it just was. John Williams is just a heavy hitter when it comes down to it. When it comes down to Fandom alone, he's just a heavy hitter, and it's hard to fight that. Even though Jay did his best, Kaleb's got the point.
Okay, and so that means we are going to the last question again. Cody, you didn't get to vote, but where you got?
I was hoping for the Nolan trilogy from Jay. Yeah. I think that would have had a thing, and if you would have said DC versus DC, I think he would have had a stronger shot. I think Giacchino would have actually been the toughest choice against Zimmer because he literally works in every fandom area. He would have been a strong choice. But Jay,
I didn't even mention the fucking Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Dude.
I know. I was I realized you said Hans Zimmer. I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna argue against Pirates of the Caribbean.
It's tough because I'm telling you right now, on paper, John Williams versus Hans Zimmer, it's a knockout, but you made that as close as possible.
Really
That's great. So this is going to be fun. I'm excited to go to the last question, so let's find out.
All right, guys, we're going to the final question. This is crazy. Every question today has been full swing one way. This is nuts. This is a great match. Last category. It's going to be the category of the MCU. Again, all three of us are going to watch closely this time. When we hear you answer, if we hear you first, you're going first.
Hey, just for my sanity, say the question twice before they answer.
Okay. All right. We will say the question twice. I'll say it once, then I will repeat it. All right, guys, your question in MCU. Best Phase 3 post-credit scene. And again, this can be either mid or end of credits. Best Phase 3 post-credit scene.
Ant-Man and the Wasp: The Snap.
Black Panther: The White Wolf.
Okay, so I just want to clarify. Jay, yours is the end of Black Panther with Bucky. Kaleb, yours is Scott getting stuck in the thingamajiggy. Thank you. All right. Kaleb, we heard you.
Did the macaw just throw the word thingamajiggy to you?
The macaw is asleep.
You are a Fandom Fights champion, and you just said the thingamajiggy.
I'm also drunk. Okay. Guys, Kaleb, you are starting because we heard you first. 40 seconds when you start talking.
The best post-credit scenes are the ones that actually have something that matters and add something to the MCU and gets you excited for the next one. This one actually put Scott Lang in a predicament where we had no idea what was going to happen. It actually kind of tied us into where we needed to go and set up what we needed to happen and gave us a level of hype for Endgame, whereas the White Wolf is a throwaway post-credit scene that wasn't even really paid off at all. It's just, it's setting up a character that we really don't care about at all from Endgame from before. When we go into Infinity War, he just shows up and he's called the White Wolf with now don't has any real implications on the MCU, whereas the actual snap gave us stakes. It took away 3 characters we didn't know were going to be gone in a beautiful, big way.
1. Time. Okay. Jay, 40 seconds whenever you start talking.
I don't think all the best post-credit scenes are usually most of them are to add something to the story. This one was a little bit more for the fans because the White Wolf is a character that you do get to see in the comics, and I think that they slipped that in low-key for that reason, but it also does tie into the rest of the movies because we finally get to find out what actually happens to Bucky, where he's been, and if he's trying to get better. This is a character that we've become emotionally attached to, and the fact that he shows up in the one spot that you didn't actually think that he would is actually kind of cool, especially if they have the technology to help him with his memory and get him a new arm and actually become another productive member of society instead of just being the Winter Soldier. I think that it proves that Bucky is still an important character, even though it doesn't have implications like the snap.
2, 1, time. All right, Kaleb, 30 seconds when you start talking.
All the significance and importance you're assigning to that is actually from the Captain America Civil War mid-credit scene when he says he wants to get better and gets in the chamber, and we find that he's in Wakanda. This doesn't add anything. This is just a deleted scene from Infinity War that doesn't do anything except say, oh, hey, guys, remember Civil War's mid-credit scene, which actually had everything that you're talking about? If you wanted to pick that one, Jay, I didn't take it. You could have taken it. The thing about the snap here is that it actually takes away Michelle Pfeiffer. It takes away Hope and Michael Douglas and everyone. It takes them away, people that are important to Scott, and it gives us a very scary scenario that we had to come to terms with.
Time. Jay, 30 seconds whenever you start talking.
You said that it's a deleted scene and it doesn't do anything. I believe that it enhances the story and it gives you just a little bit more flavor to it. And that's what post-credit scenes can tend to do and still shine fantastically. And I think that that's what happens in the White Wolf scene. Your scene seems more like a deleted scene from a movie where that happened. It's already after everything happens. You don't actually get to see anything. And he gets stuck. He doesn't even know that they're gone at that point in time. He's just stuck. So it really has absolutely nothing to do with anything. It doesn't actually add to a story.
4,
Whereas
3,
Bucky at least enhances
2,
the story that's already been told.
1, time. Okay. This is yikes.com. We're going to start with Cody on this one.
Honestly, I wish I could say this was closer than what I think it is. But it's not, in my eyes. I think Kaleb wins this. And I think it's because of his rebuttal. I think that was so strong. And I don't think Jay painted enough against Ant-Man. That was my biggest thing. Like, he brought up in the second half where that first entire thing was just setting up his thing. And that's a problem for me, especially in the speed round. It's so tight. It's so, like, back and forth. It's in your face. And you have to say a lot. I appreciate Koho not staying too long on, I didn't pick it. You could have picked it, blah, blah. He actually just stayed focused and went. So, yeah, I have to go Kaleb. I think Kaleb fought this really well.
Okay, I'll go next. I agree. I think that it actually was closer than you give it credit for. I actually liked Jay's argument quite a bit, but it just didn't stack up to the just kind of all the importance that Kaleb brought up about his. I think that he had a stronger offense, and it worked out for him. So I also give my point to Kaleb, which means your winner tonight is Mr. Kaleb Koho. But Doug, you didn't get to vote on that last question. Where would you have gone?
It was a tight match. I do think it was a tight. Yeah, it just comes down to who hit who harder, unfortunately, in this one. And there wasn't enough said against Kaleb's pick for me to give it to Jay. Unfortunately, I like Jay's strategy, but there wasn't enough where he pointed out the flaws in the scene until the end of his argument. So that's kind of where it hurt him a little bit. So Kaleb would have got my point.
All right. So again, with that means that Kaleb is your winner tonight, mostly because I don't want to. I'm going to have Cody conduct the post-match interviews because he's the person who runs this fucking league anyway. So we will start with our unfortunate loser today, Jay Burnz. Cody, take it away.
I already know where this is going to go. It's not going to go well. But Jay, I know you're not happy. I know you're probably pissed. Do you have anything to say about the match in general?
Yeah, I beat myself. I didn't understand a fucking question. That fucked me. I didn't name enough movies in a speed round, and it fucked me. So it is what it is. I'm done.
I get you. Are you, when you say you're done, are you done with Nerdgasm in general? Okay. He's done. So I need to move into my next person, Kaleb Koho. Kaleb, you actually were able to win. And I mean that in the nicest way possible.
No.
You were actually, you have the worst luck when it comes to debate at times. You always are down to the last question. When you went to the last question, I know you were a little sweating. So how do you feel about your match?
I know I said this before we even went on air. I said if we get to the last question, I'm going to be shitting bricks because I always lose on the last question. I always lose the last question. My goal is to try and finish it before then. Jay fucking is the juggernaut. Fucking took me really, really far. He whipped my ass in Wizarding World, and I realized it's... I worked really hard on that argument, so it's always a bummer when you don't win on an argument that you work really hard on. But Jay had the better argument. And then in the Oscars, I feel for you, Jay. But I read that question and I saw your answer, and I knew I had to fight dirty. I had to fight. I had to make you fight my fight in order to have any chance at winning that point. And in the speed rounds, I guess I got lucky both times picking the answer that I needed. When he said White Wolf, I was genuinely terrified that he knew something that I didn't know that was going to like destroy me or have a really off the wall argument, because Jay's the best at that. He's the best at coming up with an off the wall argument. I thought he had something that was going to ruin me on this last question, so I was terrified going into it. But Jay, you did really well. I'm drained.
So now. On the other side, to get to the Hulk himself, you have to either beat Nazario Montenegro or you have to beat the person that bounced you from the tournament the first time in Robert the Hobbit Parker. Do you have what it takes to, if you play Robert, do you have what it takes to beat him this time? And if it's Nazario, do you think you can take Nazario?
You've watched me take Nazario before. You were there in my corner when I beat Nazario last time we played in Henry Confidential's league. So I mean, I know I said Voldemort. I said Voldemort's name. I'm sorry. But in that league, I think I beat Nazario there. I know how he fights. I'd love to fight Nazario again. I honestly think that'd be fun. I really want to fight Robert again. I know it's gonna. Last time we fought Robert, it was on my worst day ever, and the fact that we went to the last question still shocks me. And I want us to be 100% to our best when we play this match, when it's me versus you, because I want to see how far I can take you. I'll see how we fight this time around, because I think we're both grown as debaters since last time we played. I think it'd be really fun. Also, Nazario, if it is you, I love you, and we're gonna have fun. And Robert, I love you. We're gonna have fun either way.
You're being real nice, and it's really disgusting. Tim, back to you at the desk.
Yes, all the judges here back at the desk. We'll do quick final thoughts ourselves. Yeah, thought this was a great match. This is one for the books. Really fun. Douglas, what about you?
Yeah, no, this was not fun. Not fun at all. I don't like judging anymore. I run a goddamn league and I gotta judge people all the time, and it's not fun. I really end up being the bad guy a lot of times. But no, I think both competitors just showed what they can do when it comes to a debate. Prep round is something that's quintessential in this thing, and if you can come up with an argument that's off the wall that nobody expects, more power to you.
Yeah, Cody.
Yeah, it's when we put it in paper, when we put this fight down, it was exactly what I thought. I'd like to see maybe like if Jay was in like the best headspace today, what the fight would have been different. But I still think he brought it even under the circumstances he was fighting under. Kaleb has he proved it that he can actually win. So now he's got to prove it that he can beat the person that bounced him from the tournament. So it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that does it for Nerdgasm tonight. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Next week, or in 2 weeks, rather, pretty great fight coming up between, like we said, Nazario and Robert. So be on the lookout for that in 2 weeks' time. Thanks so much for watching. For Kaleb, for Jay, for Doug, for Cody, and for myself, thank you so much for watching.